WisdomTree is heading to Consensus 2023 this year. Walk me through why you're heading down to Austin, Texas to talk about digital assets, and what sorts of big issues are you focusing on and facing TradFi in their attempts to expand to digital assets?
Well, one, WisdomTree has a big group going down to Consensus, and it's a great opportunity to meet with a lot of people interested in the concept or the digital assets broadly. So there's a lot of business development opportunity. We're happy to be get the opportunity to further share what we're doing on digital assets. For us, digital assets is sort of the overarching umbrella that includes cryptocurrencies as an asset class, tokenization, which we're trying to really be a leader in. We think that's the wrapper of the future. And then blockchain-enabled financial services, which we think with tokenization really will enhance the user experience and create innovations that you just can't do on the old rail. So, we're playing for the long game, and we're very excited where we're positioned in this, quickly emerging new platform.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about WisdomTree Prime. It is, I think, your next foray into the digital asset space. It's supposed to launch in Q2. There's a wait list right now. What made you decide to launch a wallet, and how does that fit into those avenues that you were just talking about between digital assets, tokenization, and the like in the digital asset space?
First, what we're doing is so natural for WisdomTree. Right now, WisdomTree, we're an asset manager. We manage about $91 billion in ETFs. So ETFs are fully transparent, really does play into things like blockchain that, really embrace transparency. But we're so early in some sense. We last year we got 9 funds approved at the SEC, blockchain-enabled funds. Now, there just aren't venues to list tokenized securities at this moment anywhere other than our own wallet. But I'm thrilled to be launching our wallet in Q2. It's just another opportunity to not cannibalize, really additive in terms of a distribution platform. And it'll give us a different relationship, both direct to consumer as well as B2B. There are lots of innovations that are coming, but like you said, WisdomTree Prime in the App Store in Q2, it'll be iterative. So we will be doing a lot more over the course of this year. And so don't just judge us day one. There's a lot of regulatory issues and functionality issues that you just have to work through, which is a little bit different than like ETFs. When you launch an ETF, it's launched complete. But in technologies, it's a little bit different, but it's very exciting.
WisdomTree has launched around 10 blockchain-focused funds, which have gotten approval from the SEC. Given the current regulatory environment that we're in right now, has that affected your strategy toward digital assets at all? You mentioned that this is an iterative process for the wallet. What's your sort of thinking for regulation right now and how it's affecting WisdomTree?
So, when we really started this journey about 4 years ago, I knew that it wasn't about DeFi, not for regulated financial service companies. It was responsible DeFi. So you want some of the functionality benefits that come with DeFi, but you have to retain the foundational principles of regulated financial services, customer protections, anti-money laundering, know your customer. So we actually expected all this. Now, that said, it's a tremendously intense environment with the regulators, but we're amazingly proud of what we were able to accomplish last year. And I think, it's fair to say, that the SEC views WisdomTree as very constructive in trying to bring some of these innovations to the market.
Yeah. I think there are sort of two competing themes happening right now in crypto that are brewing. On the one side, you have traditional finance and big banks saying that they're sort of dismissing crypto. They may not be dismissing blockchain technology altogether, but the digital currencies themselves don't really have a use case for their businesses. But then on the other side, you have crypto supporters who are looking at what happened with regional banks in March and saying this is the exact use case for crypto. This is why it exists, to prevent some of the issues we saw with bank runs. how do you sort of bridge the gap between those two parties? How do you bring your peers in TradFi to be less skeptical, and how do you bring crypto mainstream?
So one, in WisdomTree Prime, we'll actually have curated crypto exposures, meaning Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we will do that, and we'll do it in a way where we are managing your keys and managing the custody. And so that, I think, is mainstreaming it. You can't blame the banks. Going back to your question on regulation, the banks are amazingly discouraged from touching crypto, the asset class, and they just have a different regulatory regime. And at this moment, you just can't blame them. On the other side, for retail itself, they have a little bit of flexibility, and this use case does, in some ways, was enhanced. The stress in the banks, you might want to keep some of it on the side here, but in some ways, that's like buying gold coins and burying them in your garden or something. I mean, it's not quite the functionality that you're looking for. When we launched WisdomTree Prime, Bitcoin with utility, eventually Bitcoin with peer-to-peer exchange safely, as well as tied to your payment rails. So, what I think a lot of people, when you think about Bitcoin, it is a real beautiful use case on the blockchain. And what it does is it travels globally with very little friction. One of the things incumbent on a firm like WisdomTree is to tokenize traditional assets that can have the same kind of frictionless movement over geography with functionality like peer-to-peer tied to payment rails, so that you're trying to get the best of both. This, for WisdomTree, we seem very comfortable with the moment in time, with regulation. It is consistent with our vision. I'm not saying that it hasn't been a journey and a slog, but we knew it would be, so we're comfortable with it.
Yeah. Final question for me is more about outlook. I think at the top of this interview, we started talking about the different use cases that you see for digital asset technology, and tokenization is such a big part of that. When you look at how big banks and Wall Street can take some of the technology from blockchain, from crypto, how likely is it that we'll see tokenization of assets really go mainstream in 1 to 3 years? What's your sort of outlook for something like that?
So timing is very hard to predict. So to take it to something that I know very well, exchange traded funds, launched in 1993, and up for like 7 years, there was no real activity at all, just very, very quiet. And then it exploded. Now, banks are working with use cases for themselves on things like collateralization, on central bank digital currencies that will be on the blockchain. So those are forms of tokenization. They are moving where they can. Legacy issue of business model, though, is something very challenging for all incumbents. So we have our challenges. The startups have their challenges, like compliance and risk management, and regulation. So that everybody's got a challenge. There's no question about it. But the opportunities are so tremendous, and we're playing for the long game. And I really have no doubt that over time, every asset class, both liquid and illiquid, will be in a tokenized wrapper.